Chapter 1. The new computer system.
At exactly 8:20, Mr. Henry Williams walked through the doors of the bank. He was the manager and had worked there for 20 years. He wasn't always calm and relaxed when he arrived at work, but yesterday something had happened to make his life much easier. He looked around the bank. There were beautiful new computers on every desk. Some were connected to printers, others to scanners. The CPUs were hidden under the desks, and the keyboards waited to be used. On each mouse pad was a mouse with a small red light which lit up when the computer was switched on. The VDUs shone as the sun came through the window. Mr. Williams smiled. When he entered his office, he saw that his secretary had already arrived.
Morning, Mr. Williams,
She said happily. She was a very nice girl with long, blonde hair and a big smile, but she wasn't the most efficient secretary in the world.
Good morning, Belinda. Are you looking forward to discovering the wonderful things that your new computer can do?
She looked worried.
Yes, but I hope I don't make too many mistakes. Yesterday I nearly lost some important information because I pressed the wrong key.
Don't worry. I know you've only been here for 6 months. Mike has assured me that we now have the most up-to-date computer hardware and software and the most secure system money can buy.
Mike Black was the bank's network manager and head of technology. He had organized and set up the new system. At that moment, someone knocked on the door, and Mike came in.
Morning, Mr. Williams. How are you?
He said.
Very well, thank you, Mike. Now, are you sure the system's functioning properly? Can I go on holiday next week to the Caribbean without worrying about things back here?
Mike smiled.
Things couldn't be better. Our LAN is working perfectly. It is now connected to the bank's WAN, and the security access rights are...
Mike, you know that my knowledge of computers is very limited. I'm afraid I belong to another generation, which is why I pay you to solve our IT problems.
IT terms were a foreign language to Henry Williams. His son, Robbie, was only 15, but he was already a computer genius and sat in front of his monitor for hours every day. He had no problem logging on and off, surfing the net, or downloading files. His father was an excellent bank manager, but unfortunately he had no idea what these terms meant. He was grateful for experts like Mike who could decipher these mysteries for him.
Don't worry. You can have a wonderful time in the Caribbean. Things couldn't be better here,
replied Mike. He left the office, and Mr. Williams sat down at his desk on which there was no computer at all, either new or old. He was dreaming of blue seas and white beaches when a cry from Belinda's desk brought him back to reality.
Mr. Williams, my computer has crashed.
As soon as she had said the words, they heard similar cries of alarm coming from the bank's main area downstairs. One by one, the computers were crashing.
Chapter 2. A problem.
Mr. Williams ran down the escalator and into the main office area. What was happening? All the computers were down. Everyone was trying to reboot, but it was impossible. Henry Williams tried not to panic. He asked Belinda to call Mike and tell him to come immediately. Then he said to his staff,
Don't worry, everyone. I'm sure it's a minor problem that Mike will soon resolve.
A young bank teller whispered to a colleague,
He said that last week, when that virus destroyed most of our files. Remember?
His friend smiled. Someone had sent an email to all the staff which promised to show photos of Belinda's new boyfriend. Belinda was very popular with the staff in the bank, so naturally everyone opened it. But there was no photo, just a virus which corrupted the entire system. Mike, who still didn't know about the problem, arrived in the lift just as strange things began to happen. First, the lights went off, leaving the bank in darkness. Then a client came in to complain to a cashier that he couldn't access his account from the ATM outside the bank. Then the lights came on again, but the doors closed automatically, locking everyone in the bank. Mr. Williams said sarcastically,
As you can see, Mike, our new system is working perfectly. Nobody can do any work, the clients are angry, and we're all prisoners in the bank.
Mike smiled nervously.
I'm sure it's nothing. I'll take a look at the server and see what the problem is.
Mike was the only person with total security access rights for the system, and he had the only copy of the password list. He was very good at his job, so he wasn't too worried about these hiccups. He went to the main computer and put in his password. A message appeared on the screen.
Access denied. Password invalid.
Everyone in the bank was watching him. Mike took his password list from his wallet. He typed in his password again, slowly and carefully. Every time he tried, the same message appeared on the screen.
That's impossible.
He cried. His face was white with tension. Mr. Williams was waiting for an explanation.
Is everything okay?
He asked. Mike prepared to give his boss the bad news.
It seems that someone has obtained the passwords for the new system and has changed them.
And what exactly does that mean?
Asked his boss angrily. Mike took a deep breath.
It means that this person now has total control of the bank.
At that moment, the doors of the bank miraculously opened again. No one spoke. The silence was broken only by the noise of the clock on the wall. All the staff were waiting for Mr. Williams's reaction.
And tell me, how did this person get the passwords?
Asked Mr. Williams quietly.
I have no idea.
Replied Mike.
I always keep the password list in my wallet. No one else has ever seen it. It's a complete mystery.
No!
Shouted Mr. Williams.
The mystery is why I gave you a job. First the virus and now this. Well, you can start looking for a new job. You're sacked.
Mike left the bank without a word. He didn't look at anyone. He knew that it was his fault. Belinda's voice broke the silence.
Oh, Mr. Williams, what are we going to do?
Before he could answer, the computer displayed a new message.
Email arriving for Henry Williams.